So if you will do me a huge favor, if not for me, but for them, a round of applause to welcome them to the stage.
Let's bring it on.
And if you know Joe Daly, he is next door and gets annoyed with me when we're louder. So great work, team. Thank you. Take it away, folks.
Awesome stuff. Now bring it on, and at the end we'll go for another really loud round of applause. So thank you everybody for taking time out of your day. I hope that you're really enjoying the conference. Highlight for me, of course, FinOps X, being able to do it twice in a year as well, once in the US and once in EMEA. What a fantastic opportunity. So I'm Jeremy Chaplin. I'm from Flexera. You can see here on the slides that I lead our FinOps practice at Flexera. But this isn't my session, right? I'm here really just as a bit of a facilitator. But I'm delighted to have with me Julián from ASML. Julián has been a customer of ours, and ASML a customer of ours, just since this year. But he is, and the team that he supports is a showcase of how to do FinOps successfully as a team. And so I was super pleased when Julián said that he would join me here up on stage and share with you a little bit about his journey. Julián, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Very excited to be here. My name is Julián Debenedetti. I am the product owner of the Cloud FinOps team and part of the core IT at CCOE. And very happy to be sharing this with you. My responsibility is the success of the Cloud FinOps team in our journey to increase the business value of cloud.
Great stuff. Thanks, Julián. So before we get started and we hear about what Julián's done so successfully there at ASML, let me just give you a little bit of a positioning, okay? So this is the only bit about Flexera really here. Those of you that attended, hopefully everybody was in the keynote yesterday, right? So we heard JR talk about scopes, about how FinOps and how the FinOps framework is applicable, not just to public cloud, but to private cloud, to SaaS, on-premise and everything that's going on here. So Flexera is in a fortunate position, and you can just see here the kind of modules that we have in our SaaS platform, Flexera One. And I don't need to talk through this. You can see, of course, the FinOps module here on the what's that, your right-hand side? And also then, as we move to the left, things like cloud license management, right? We're also going to be talking about sustainability and other things in the modules there. And as you shift then over to the left here, IT asset management, SaaS management, things on-prem, okay? So full coverage of the scopes that we're now, learning and seeing that the framework is embracing. And we saw some fantastic numbers again that JR put up on the stage there in terms of who is actually, doing this across the other scopes. We heard, of course, from HSBC, that they're managing SaaS and so on. So that's our platform. Obviously, Julián and the team here just using the FinOps module today, but wanted to just share with you a little bit of kind of context there. Julián, over to you. Let's hear a little bit about ASML and what you do.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'd like to begin by introducing the company, as you may not know it. I never heard of it before I started working for them, but as it turns out, it's a gigantic company. It's filled with very smart people doing crazy stuff. So I think it's interesting for me to introduce it quickly. ASML, we build the machines that produce microchips that we use in our devices. It was founded in 1984 with a handful of employees. We are now more than 40,000. And we have offices in more than 60 locations around the world. What we do is we provide the hardware, the software, and the services required to build structures on silicon, and we do this through something called lithography. Lithography basically is we shoot ultraviolet light into silicon to create billions of tiny little patterns on silicon, and together that form a microchip. And then every year, we push the technology to ensure that chip makers can build cheaper, smaller, and more powerful chips. And it's difficult to imagine life without chips. We wouldn't have digital cameras, video games, computer, phones, not even internet. But chips can also be found in less obvious places. Cars have dozens of chips. Hospital scanners, home appliance, think of your smoke detector. Even washing machines rely on chips. There are few inventions that have changed the world and continue to change the world more than the silicon chip. And every major chip maker in the world use our machines. So maybe you never heard of ASML, but chances are, every day you use a device that it was partially made in our machines. And in the photo, you can see one of the machines and the engineers, you can see the dimension of it. So as you can imagine, we use cloud a lot. This is an image of our footprint on cloud. We have public cloud, data centers, and most recently, private cloud, which is cloud-like technology on a single tenant data center. We have over 100 workloads live, almost 300 in development, all kind of workloads for the traditional BDI, backups to more analytics, Gen AI, and you name it. We have Azure and Google, and the cloud environment is governed by the Cloud Center of Excellence, the CCOE. We ensure that the platform is stable, is secure, but we have a DevOps way of working, meaning that the workloads are responsible to build their own infrastructure and to maintain it and to fix it. We provide guidance, we provide best practices, and we provide services in terms of architecture, in terms of security, service management, and of course, in Cloud FinOps, which is what I will talk about today.
What I particularly like, Julian, as you move on there, is obviously, consumers of cloud, but if it wasn't for ASML, there would be no cloud, right? So the chip fabrication exercise, of course, heavily used by the major cloud vendors there.
Yeah, indeed. The focus of this presentation is the decentralized responsibility. How do you actually get to achieve that? How do you make engineers really responsible and really focus about efficiency and be less wasteful? I will tell you how we do it in ASML, how we do FinOps in ASML, what are the main challenges that we face, how we go about them. Hopefully you'll be able to relate, and it will trigger some interesting discussions, and maybe we can even help each other. To begin, this is a high-level structure of our cloud environment. At the top layer, you have the sectors or the business units. Think about IT, finance, marketing, whichever business unit that uses the cloud. There is one cost owner per business unit. The cost owner is responsible for the entire budget of the entire sector and all of the workloads underneath. The layer below are the workload level. We have hundreds of these workloads. We only have 15 or 16 cost owner. There's one cost manager per every workload. This cost manager is responsible for the cost and the budget of that workload. The cost manager needs to be knowledgeable in terms of what the workload is doing. He needs to be knowledgeable enough in terms of FinOps. He needs to understand showback, chargeback, amortized cost, and so on. And he needs to be knowledgeable in terms of the tools that we have, as we expect them to be active on them. The CCOE, or the Cloud FinOps team, we sit outside of this structure. We help in every single level. We're also the point of contact with other stakeholders, such as IT procurement, license management, finance, and more. The Cloud FinOps team today is composed by 8 people. We have 3 cloud cost analysts, 3 optimization engineers, a Scrum Master, and myself. I'm the product owner of the team. I will talk about a little bit more of each of these roles, the cost owner, the cost manager that I just mentioned, later on the presentation, but I think this is enough for an introduction.
And the scale of this, Julian, so obviously, we've seen many customers with Cloud Center of Excellence. That's not an uncommon kind of structure to have, and you had, 8 in the CCOE?
As a Cloud FinOps, we are 8. The CCOE as a whole, we are 17.
Okay, so the CCOE is 8, which isn't unusual. Again, we've kind of seen some of the numbers from the surveys that the FinOps Foundation do, but you said 70 cost owners across the workloads.
The CCOE, we are 70 people.
Okay.
The Cloud FinOps team, we are 8.
Yeah.
And then there's one cost owner per business unit, that's 14, 16, and then we have 300 workloads, so we have 300 cost managers.
So this is the material bit, right? This is where ASML are being successful in terms of, a decentralized approach. But actually, those guys are wearing hats, I think, that say they are responsible then for the costs of the workloads that they manage.
Yeah, indeed. We have created a role that is not a full-time job, but it is a role within every team that is directly responsible in our FinOps framework.
This is awesome. How many people would you think are FinOps enabled within the organization?
It's I don't know, it should be around 300 or 400 people.
300 or 400 people. Okay, great stuff. Thank you. It's an amazing success story in terms of education and enablement there.
Thanks. Our dear FinOps framework, I'm not going to talk about it today. I hope this is familiar to all of you. But I thought it's important to put it here, not only because everything that we do in ASML is structured this way, but also because this is the way I structure this presentation. As I move along the slides, you're going to see one of the faces is going to be on the top left corner, and the 4 domains are always going to be there in every slide, and then the domain that we're going to be talking about on that specific slide is going to be highlighted. It's just to provide a little bit of structure, and so it's easier to follow. Understanding cloud usage and cost. Arguably one of the most important things, or at least one of the most basic things that the cloud FinOps team needs to provide. Ensure the correct cloud cost allocation and ensuring that the right information arrives to the right people as quick as possible. And the way we do this is, well, we have several tools. We have Flexera, our main cloud cost monitoring tool. I will talk about Flexera a little bit, not too much, but we have Jeremy here, who's the expert, and he'll be happy to answer all of your questions. But we also have other tools. For example, we use ServiceNow. Every time we onboard a new workload, we register that in ServiceNow. It is our source of truth, and there we register a short description of what it is, who's the owner of the workload, who are the technical contact, who are the cost manager and the cost owner that I mentioned just before, what is the annual budget, and more. All this information gets stored in ServiceNow, and then Flexera pulls that information through an API and creates the billing centers that you see on the screen. One of the biggest advantages of Flexera, if I may say so myself, is the fact that everything that you see on the tool can be done programmatically. That makes it easy to automate things. Another advantage of Flexera is the fact that they have a hierarchical structure. So you can create the billing centers of the business unit, then the workloads. Some workloads have departments and then have projects. And we never allocate cost directly to the sectors, who are the actual budget holders. We allocate cost to the workload. And the total cost of the sector is always going to be the sum of the cost of the workloads underneath it. The way we allocate cost is we use tags. We tag everything at the resource group level with a workload ID tag, and then Flexera pulls that up and uses it to allocate costs into the billing centers that created with ServiceNow. Now we enforce these tags by policy. So every resource group is tagged with a workload ID tag. That means that all of the costs get allocated and nothing falls through the crack. And on top of that, another advantage of Flexera is that we get to allocate cost manually after the fact, meaning that we can allocate cost that, for example, for share cost, it has a workload ID tag or no, but after the fact, once it reaches Flexera, we can choose to, a percentage of it we're going to pay for ourselves, core IT, but a percentage of the share cost is going to be distributed amongst the sectors to certain percentage, and that's easy to automate, and once you set it up, it does it automatically.
Can I just touch on this as well? So, what Julian has described there is absolutely a best practice. So our teams at Flexera love to work with customers. I mean, Julian and his team are very technical and at the far end of the maturity curve in terms of using our APIs and driving automation. But we love to automate this stage, right? Far too many of our customers spending a lot of time in the inform stage, right? Wrestling with tag data and metadata, wrestling with visibility. Is the report that I'm even looking at accurate, right? If you're spending time in that stage, it's not time well spent, right? We've got expensive FinOps practitioners and a team of 8 that are focused here on the Center of Excellence. They should be spending their time driving the business outcomes, driving the value from the cloud, and not worrying about, hey, is my dashboarding and reporting automated. So this structure here, and particularly integrating with a CMDB, right, ServiceNow, or some other source of truth, is really, a best practice, and I would encourage you all to look at, where is your metadata if you're struggling with tagging, and which most organizations do. Yes, you can mandate that, but you don't have to have all of the attributes there. Use another system of record. That can be really helpful. Thank you for sharing that, Julian.
Of course. As much as we like Flexera, we also have other reporting needs or requirements that were not fulfilled. So for that, we created our own reporting system. We have in-house built machine learning algorithms that make predictions. I put here an example because we report at the workload level. This is an email report that tells you how much you spent this month compared to last month, and it makes a prediction until the end of the year and compares that to the annual budget that you register in ServiceNow. It gives you a color, red or green, depending on if that's healthy or not. There's also some performance KPI. We use reports like this also to spot anomalies and also to identify severely underutilized resources. These reports are triggered automatically, and they are sent to all of the engineers within that workload. And the goal here is to ensure that the engineers receive feedback in terms of cost, regardless if they want to use Flexera or not. This will arrive. This is a weekly report that we send every Monday. It's triggered. And it was built by one of the engineers in my team.
Mm. And we encourage this. We've actually not done ML, I don't think, on anomalies. We've done it on budgeting. But when I saw this capability, right, sat down with one of your engineers, and he's like, "Yeah, we built this." And we're like, "Oh, wow, okay, super cool to see customers." I mean, pulling data from Flexera, again, really extensible, and enabling them to pull data and build other things around that kind of core platform. Again, encouraged, right? Nobody has a single tool that does everything.
But we use the Flexera API for this. These reports, the way they work is if you can see the resource in the portal, then you will be able to see the financial details of that workload in Flexera. And if you can see that data in Flexera, then you will receive this report. Because we use a Flexera API for this. So everything is sort of interconnected. Quantifying business value. This is the domain that we have been struggling the most. This has been our biggest challenge. Finding a true measure of value for a company that is so big and for having so many different workloads that do things completely different has been very difficult. What we have done is taking a step forward to allow workloads to benchmark and to compare against each other. And we have focused on building KPIs for performance and for green ops. For example, you can see how much you average CPU utilization, or how much you average free memory, or number of over-provision cores. Also, in terms of green ops, your carbon emissions for your workload, how many trees you would need to plant to offset your footprint. And this information is available for everyone. Unlike Flexera, in Flexera you can only see the financial information that is relevant to you. This is open, and they can use it to compare against each other. We are now working also on a solution to paint the workloads depending on how good these KPIs are doing. So if they are performing very well, they're going to get a more green color. If they're performing really bad, more like a red color, or like an energy label tag that will be added to all of these automatic reports that we set at the workload level.
This is pretty awesome in terms, sorry if I may, in terms of the gamification, of a unit economic measure, but also doing that with a sustainability context. I'm not sure who's responsible for planting 9,000 trees here. Sounds quite a task. Unit cost is difficult. What the team here at ASML have done here is fantastic, and it's obviously using technical measures. But to get to a kind of business value measure, I think, is your ambition for 2025. And it'd be super interesting to hear from the audience, where you might have experience of doing unit cost. The challenge, I think, for you guys is just the sheer number of workloads, right? Yeah. Hundreds of workloads, potentially that have different measures, different kind of KPIs. So where do you start in terms of trying to understand the business value here and contextualize it? What you've done here is amazing, and I particularly love the sustainability.
But the deal will be the focus in 2025, and it is the main topic that all of the all of the talks that I'm attending to is how to create unit economics, how do you translate that into business value. But yeah, so moving on to optimizing cloud usage and cost. Here we separate rate optimization from usage optimization. Rate optimization is fully a responsibility of the FinOps team. It's something that we do centrally. And by this, I mean we negotiate with our vendors. We sign contracts with the cloud vendors, with our partners. We purchase our commitment centrally, whether that's FlexUD or resource-based UD or reserved instances, saving plans, whatever it is, we do it centrally. All our reservations, for example, our commitments are purchased in a 3-year term and with a shared scope. And the reason we do that is because we monitor the performance of all of our commitments. So if I see, for example, a reservation that is being underutilized on certain machine type, I'll just grab it and put it somewhere else, in a different machine type, in a different region. I make sure that all our commitments are being used to the maximum. We do, however, align with the business. If you remember, there's one cost owner per sector, per business unit. We have bi-weekly meetings with them to ensure that we know each other plan and to ensure that we are helping them the best way possible.
Are you guys responsible as well for paying for unused reservations?
Yeah, so the sectors always pay for whatever they use, regardless of that's on demand or that's a reserve price. You pay for what you use. What we pay for, centrally as core IT, is the unused reservation. That gives us the motivation also to make sure that there's no waste, and it releases them to have to be worried about the managing of the reservations.
And a lot of our customers struggle with what is a best practice here, which is doing reservation, commitment management centrally. It's best practice. We love to talk about, hey, you should be doing this, but most companies are like, well, yeah, we get that, but actually we're buying them at the resource group level. I've actually heard from some customers, or subscriptions or accounts or whatever it might be, which is a massive overhead, but it typically aligns to some sort of financial process.
Yeah.
How have you kind of worked around that? Who did you work with here to be able to do that at a central level?
Yeah, we've had this request. Some sectors do want to manage their own reservations and they want to purchase, because also this way they ensure that they reap the benefit of that reservation themselves, because otherwise anyone can benefit from that. But if we purchase reservation for a single subscription or for a single scope, then if they decide to migrate away to a different machine type or whatever it is, then that's going to go to waste. Also, we know better than anybody the level of discounts that we have for every SKUs in reservation, because we have negotiated the contract with Microsoft, with Google. We understand how much we pay for each SKU in each region. And this is not knowledge that everybody knows across the company. We think about thousands of engineers.
Did you agree the approach with finance teams? Were they part of the kind of center of excellence in the discussion around how you'd structure this?
Yeah, I mean, we proposed it and they accepted it.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, this is something that we have firmly decided to do centrally, despite requests here and there by the sectors.
Yeah.
I think this is the best way to go.
I love the fact that you pay for the waste as well. As you say, big incentive to get that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usage optimization, on the other hand, is fully a responsibility of the workload team. We're going to help them. We're going to teach them how to do it. But we are never going to go to their environment and start terminating things or start right-sizing machines. That's always going to be the case, that they have to do it, regardless of how obvious of an optimization it might be. We will never do it for them. What you see on the screen is what we call the cost management funnel. In the original version that I sent the FinOps X, this looks like a funnel. It doesn't now anymore. But we're going to call it the cost management funnel anyway. And it reads left to right on how we tackle this from the central FinOps team towards the workload. So in the left, you see all the input that we receive from several sources. We get ideas from the cloud vendors, from our partners, from the workloads, from the CCOE, from the cloud FinOps team. We always have a long list of ideas of how can workloads optimize. Me as a product owner, I worked on the prioritization. I put on the top what's more important. And if you remember, I have 3 optimization engineers. A part of their job is to pick up the most important one and perform an analysis. We do that in Jira. In Jira, we do a whole analysis focusing mainly on what's the potential savings and how much effort would it mean to implement this. That's on column number 2. In column number 3 is once we decide that this is an idea that is worth pursuing, we allocate this optimization recommendation to the workload, and we do this in ServiceNow. In ServiceNow, if you remember, we have all the information about the workload. There's a tab that's called recommendations. We allocate this whole analysis to them, and the cost manager gets notified automatically. This allows us to track it, but also it sends reminders automatically. There is a status on it that they can change. They can write whatever they want. But if nothing happens, this keeps sending reminders, and after a while, it sends a reminder or it sends a notification to the cost owner that says, hey, one of your workloads has an outstanding recommendation, has not done anything for 3 or 4 weeks. So there's a way for us to follow, and there's also an escalation path to ensure that they take a look at it. So the reason it does look like a funnel is the first one is a long list, all the ideas. The second one is a smaller list, all the ideas that we analyze. This is all the ideas that we actually worked on, and these are the ones that actually get done, because there might be valid business reasons why a workload does not execute one of the ideas. They know the business better. They know what they do better than we do. So that's why it naturally looks like a funnel originally, but well, you're going to have to trust me on that.
And there are a couple of great things, I think, about this process that I particularly like. One is using external systems, right? Engineers logging into a FinOps tool to get their recommendations? Probably not. Engineers using Jira or a ServiceNow ticket to prioritize their work and work with the workload owner? Yeah, okay, that's more likely to actually happen. And then ultimately what the team are doing here with the funnel, that's supposed to look like a funnel, is triage, right? These are recommendations at the end of the day, right? But they don't always have the full business context, as we know. It's often a technical metric, CPU usage, RAM usage, or whatever it might be. Without the business context, then they're not necessarily actionable. And so the team here working left to right and triaging that means that when somebody actually gets a Jira or a ServiceNow ticket, it's pretty much agreed that you can implement and deliver that outcome. One of the challenges we see in the industry here is then how do you track that financially? Are you able to do any kind of measures of cost savings at the end of the funnel? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, we report on a monthly basis on how much we save in rate optimization and how much we have in contract also negotiations and also in usage optimization. This is, though, a quite manual effort, especially the usage part. We calculate how much, based on the potential savings that we allocated to this optimization idea. If it was implemented, we measure it the first month and then we extrapolate that.
Yeah.
So we have an estimation of the amount saved per usage optimization. It's only about the optimizations that we allocate to the workloads, but the workloads themselves, especially once they are more and more mature, they work on the optimizations themselves. We do not track that.
Okay, got you. Awesome process. Again, interested to hear from the audience experience in terms of tracking savings for usage reduction. It can be very difficult when those actions get taken, outside of a tool or whatever, possibly in CI/CD, possibly in Jira, possibly partially implemented as well. So it can be difficult to track. But you'll tell us, I think, about the savings in a minute, won't you? Because I think you've achieved a good number of dollar savings over the time that you've been doing this.
What I will talk about now is what I think to be the key of our success in achieving a decentralized responsibility across the company. We have created what we call a cloud cost community of practice. Every cost manager of every workload, at the end of the day, regardless of what the workload is doing, is going to face similar challenges, similar problems. We have created a place where they can get together, talk to each other, help each other, share best practices, ensuring that they don't build the same solution for the same problem twice. It is a place where we organize knowledge sharing sessions, we organize hackathons, we send newsletters, we organize cleanup days, and it is a place where, most importantly, we train everybody. We have created, for these 3 roles that you see on the screen, a lot of learning materials. We have created a learning path for each of them, and this is done completely by the Cloud FinOps team centrally, and it is tailor-made for ASML with our terminology, our tools, our departments, and this is composed by videos and learning materials, and it is really a source of pride of our team. This is something that we have worked a lot, and we have seen extremely good results. Also, it creates a lot of engagement. It creates a sense of community. We organize events almost every month, and the last one, we had over 200 people attending to the event. It was about optimizing AKS in Azure. And it's getting more and more traction, and the quality of these learning materials is really, really good. In the next slide, I put an example of how the learning path of one of the roles looks like. This is, of course, an image, but each of these bubbles is a link that if you click it, it will take you to a series of videos that we have made ourselves with a series of learning materials that will teach you how to do every single thing that you need to do in order to fulfill your role successfully, from requesting access to the tools, to creating dashboards, to budgeting, making predictions, understanding different terminology. All of it, it's been recorded, and it's very easy and accessible for everybody. This is, by the way, in the platform in ASML, and anyone can access this. It's public information, whether you have this role or not. Anyone can learn how to do FinOps, anyone can request access to our tools. But on top of that, if you actually have one of these roles yourself, these learning materials have been transformed into a training, I should say. And then we have a training platform called My Learning. And every time we onboard a new workload, a cost manager gets assigned to that workload, and if you are that cost manager, you're going to get, this training is going to get assigned to you. You're going to get a notification, your manager is going to get a notification with a training that has a deadline, and it's going to be part of your goals. And this ensures that this training is going to be paid attention to. It's going to be another training for you. So the same way you have to do trainings about data privacy or inclusion, you're going to get assigned a training that you have to do before a certain date. This ensures that everybody has at least a minimum knowledge to fulfill the role that was assigned to them.
And if I may, this is remarkable. All right, so the work that the guys have done here, I saw a few people taking pictures of slides. There's a few takeaways from this, but this is absolutely one of them, right? So, here at Flexera, we do have a kind of a team of consultants to provide the kind of people and process and education support. ASML here have taught us a few things about how to do that properly, right? I mean, these guys, know how to drive the adoption, to drive the cultural change within the organization. You can use tools, of course you can. They're not going to solve the problem unless the people are engaged. I would love to see mandatory training in Flexera that was about, right?
Flexera is all over. Videos of Flexera all over these trainings. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, so take this one away. Have a chat with Julian afterwards in terms of how they've built and delivered this content and embedded it in the organization, right? Getting 300 plus people to do FinOps properly, new people into the organization. Education and enablement and the cultural shift, running things like the hackathons, having 200 people attend an event where you're talking about EKS or whatever, right? It's a remarkable success, for sure.
Yeah, I'll be happy to show you how it looks afterwards, but we are very proud also about the quality of how it looks, very professionally, I should say. Yeah. This is something we're very proud of, and we've received really good feedback internally, but also I presented this in different companies to do a peer community. and everyone is very, very surprised about it, and it's something that I show everybody, yes, every opportunity I get.
You should do.
Lastly, what you see on the screen is the evolution of the cost for Azure and GCP. It's been a long journey and not always easy. Cost control was not a priority at first, but after implementing our cloud FinOps framework, we have not only managed to decrease that trend, but to revert it altogether. And this was this is really because we not because of the FinOps team, not because of any tool that we have, but because we were able to implement this shared responsibility culture. We have seen a shift, really, where not only engineers are aware of what they cost, what they spend, they are actively engaged in managing their own cost. And here, what I'd like to highlight is the fact that having a FinOps framework also allows us to leverage the advantage of cloud. Think about scalability and flexibility. When we think about that, we always think of scaling up. If you need more CPU, you can get it quickly. And that's true. But also, it allows us to scale down successfully. The semiconductor industry, our industry, is cyclical. It goes up and down. So when we got the directive last year that we needed to cut costs quick, we were able to do it. We reacted very agile way. We not only can turn down the price knob, we also can turn down the quantity knob. And while we saw other departments struggle, think of license management, they have contracts for years, IT asset management, the servers have been purchased. People need laptops, they struggle to decrease cost. We, on the other hand, are able to be flexible, are able to react. And that means that the business is in control of where they want to spend the money, where they want to put the resource. We give the steering wheel to the management, and we can align with the strategy of the company. Because we were able to prove that, ASML decided to establish a cloud-first strategy moving forward that's going to see more and more resources migrating away from on-premises to cloud on the following years. And this all started by empowering teams to manage their own cost, by establishing a culture of accountability, and by working together.
Julian, that was amazing, and I'm sure everybody will join me in thanking you for sharing that journey there. There's so many takeaways, I think, from doing this, and we've talked about the people, process, kind of cultural elements as well. Doing automation where it makes the most sense, right? Freeing up your people to focus on triaging and, addressing the funnel that wasn't a funnel anymore. It is absolutely the way forward, right? Not spending the time on the, inform stages and other things that are unnecessary. So, again, thank you so much for joining us up here on stage. It's been a real pleasure, and I'd like to say thank you, and round of applause, please.
Thank you.
We have 7 or so minutes until lunch is ready, so I would love to do some questions for the group. I see one in the back. Disclaimer, this is called a catch box, which means I get to throw it and you have to catch it. If it lands on your head, it is soft, it does not hurt, but I do not play sports. So are you ready to catch?
Hi, thank you. How did you go about getting the executive sponsorship to go and build out your FinOps community?
This has been a long journey. This is not something as you said, we started in 2019 and the cost was growing exponentially. It looked like we were not in control, and probably we weren't. And this has been perseverance, insisting, and also showing results. We were not successful until we actually had a budget constraint. We had an external shock we needed to, which know about the company, the industry was just lower than expected. And then everyone panicked, and we offer solutions. And that's when we got management to be on board. Before that, I'm afraid that it was a challenge.
Next question from the group. It's got to come up here now, so maybe you should stand.
Are you ready?
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun.
Nice catch.
There's even a jump there.
Is the mic? Right, thank you very much. Two questions, one to ASML and the other one to Flexera. I saw that in one of the presentations that you still decided to go to Power BI dashboards and so on. Could you give a couple of examples of use cases where the tooling was not enough and you wanted to do a more deep dive? And to Flexera, when you see that clients are doing these things, do you have a process to take what they build and to cover for this need and say, hey, maybe we should just build this directly into the tool? How is that working?
Several reasons. Flexera is, at its core for us, a cost-focused app, what it means for us is that it is not something that we want to share with everybody. You're going to get access based on what is relevant to you, and you will not be able to see anything else. In terms of dashboards that track performance and encourage benchmarking between the workloads, we want this information to be public. And we want flexibility in terms of what we want to show. Flexera is great for many things, but it's not a BI tool. It has its limitations in terms of dashboarding and visualizations. Power BI offers that and allows us to share it with everybody. That was the main reason why we added Power BI on top of.
And in response to that, obviously, we love to listen to our customers and their use cases. So actually, 2025, Power BI will be embedded in the Flexera tool so that you can go and build out those dashboards within the platform if you wish. We kind of recognize that we're a broker of the data. We don't want to constrain what people do with that data. And so enabling a bit more flexibility there is key for us. It's a great question. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Got time for one or two more. I see a hand in the back by the speaker. Okay, you guys are really much better than the previous room.
Hi guys, thanks for the presentation, very informative. I'd like to ask, what sort of mechanisms did you use to motivate your cost owners and cost managers to do the right thing, especially where maybe that wasn't their full-time job and they had to prioritize this over other things? What did you do to make that happen?
Yeah, again, it was also a long process. In the beginning, it was us just chasing them and sending them emails and being ignored. And there's a lot of things that helped. One was, again, the fact that we did not have budget anymore, that there was a sort of state of panic where you saw that dynamic going the other way around. People started chasing us, hey, please, we need help us. How do we optimize our resources? But also, we have some, as part of the FinOps framework, we have some mandatory meetings, for example, with all the cost owners. We have once a month a monthly actual report where we build for them a scorecard where we show them what are your main cost drivers, which are the workloads that are the most expensive, what are your main performance KPI, all of the outstanding recommendations that we ask each of them. Explain yourself. Why are these not being acted on? Or is this expected? We started to challenge them, and the fact that they have a budget, a very strict budget, entitles them to chase their own workloads, because we cannot chase every single workload. We deal with the cost owners on top at the business level, and they are responsible to chase their own workloads. And the other thing that helped a lot is the community, because that brings people together. Now the cost manager between different sectors, they know each other and they help each other. And these events that we organize create a lot of engagement. And they increase the basic level of FinOps knowledge in the company together with the mandatory trainings. that also helped a lot.
The final throw will go here to Dominica. Ready to catch? I'm not throwing this one. You got to catch that one. Thank you.
And thank you for the presentation, interesting insights. I'm wondering, how did you approach definition of workloads and finding the right cost owners and cost managers? Does it reflect your organizational structure, or it is more a reflection of your product?
It's a combination. The business units were created based on what the company needed. No, we didn't propose them. And then the workloads themselves, they usually relate to an application or to a single solution. But a workload is a construct that can be anything. It can be related to one subscription. It can be related to one sector even, or to a certain amount of tags. The way a workload is composed, it changes. I would say it's usually one application, focused on one thing. But those are formed naturally in the company. This is not something that we impose. They form their own workloads, and they choose their own managers. We do not influence that.
3 closing thoughts. First, immediately after you welcomed our speakers, Joe Daly texted me and said that was really loud. So I'd like you to do that again and thank Julian and Jeremy for their presentation.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I enjoy sharing all of these amazing FinOps stories, best practices, and expertise. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and leave comments and questions for our speakers. Check out more FinOps X content on our YouTube channel. We appreciate the support.